Our third early stage company, dailychela.com from Portland, Oregon, is an OTT app for Latinos that solves the problem of the lack of Latino news, opinion, and sports on Roku, iOS, and Android. Welcome, dailychela.com.
Hello, thank you. Well, my name is Brandon, and I am the founder of a new Latino digital media app called the Daily Chela. But before I tell you a little bit about the problem I'm trying to solve, I want to tell you a little bit about how I got here. So 20 years ago, I was a different person. I was a high school dropout. I was in and out of jail. I was addicted to drugs. I was a gang member. Eventually, I hit rock bottom, and I knew that I needed to change the way that I was living. I didn't want to live that way anymore. I didn't want to be like my friends. So I enrolled in college, and I began to study political science. My first year, I made the dean's list. Second year, thank you. Second year, I landed a scholarship. And my third year, I landed a prestigious internship opportunity working in Washington, D.C. While I was in Washington, D.C., I began writing, and I began to get published in some of the biggest papers in the country. I wrote for the Washington Times, the Washington Examiner, Salon. I've written for the Oregonian. In many ways, it was like a dream come true coming from where I came from to reach that point. But there was just one problem. I couldn't write about any of the things that I actually wanted to write about. All of those publications were outdated. They were safe, they were boring, they were sanitized. I wanted to write about my own experiences. I wanted to write about politics and life from a Chicano perspective. So one day, out of frustration, I started publishing the things I really wanted to write about on my own blog. And something funny happened. The blogs, they took off. I started getting read more on my own personal blog than I was for some of the biggest national publications. And that's when it struck me. There was a hole in the market. So I took $70 and I launched the Daily Chela. Since we launched 24 months ago, we now have hundreds of paid subscribers. We have 5,000 newsletter subscribers. We have 250,000 social media followers through our network. And we've been cited by the LA Times, NBC, Yahoo, Fox, and more. Last year, I raised $35K in a friends and family round. This year, I'm raising $700K in a seed round so I can hire full-time employees and we can expand our podcast network to Roku. Nice. I know I have an unconventional background, but I actually think it uniquely qualifies me to deal with the challenges that sometimes come with the startup world. I've never had the luxury to walk away from a problem in my life. I had to figure out a way to make it work. Latinos are the fastest growing demographic in the country. They wield $1.7 trillion in purchasing power. I hope you will consider helping me meet that demand. I think I have something special, and I thank you for your time.
Beautiful pitch. Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you, Brandon. That was great. And I think anybody who, I am also a recovering newspaper reporter. Matthew, I am also a recovering newspaper reporter, so I am with you on this. There are ways to make money outside of that business. And in it, ask the owners of Bleacher Report and The Athletic what it's like to sell a media property, and they will tell you it's a pretty good business. So tell me about how you get readers. Where do the readers come from? How do you find them? How much does it cost to find one?
Well, most of our readers started coming from, we had a number of columns early on that went viral. I was writing essays about prison, gangs, but I was writing of it from like kind of a smart policy perspective, but not too wonky. It was something that average people could read and understand and relate to. And from there, we began to build our brand. I didn't expect as many organizations to start reaching out to me as they did. I had, for example, Cheech Marin and his new art center reached out to us before the LA Times to have us write about his new art center that just opened in LA. And the reason for that was because our demographic is so hard for publications to reach, which is primarily the Mexican-American demographic.
Questions from the audience for Brandon? Okay, very good. Steve, go ahead.
Hi. Do you have any sort of a geographic focus for what you're doing with Daily Chela?
Sure. So we have readers everywhere, but I would say the bulk of our audience and our paid subscribers come from the Southwest and the West Coast. I would say So out of the 65, I would say about 65% of the Latinos in the country are Mexican American descent, and they're predominantly located in those regions. So that tends to be our main audience.
I think I had a question over here. Yeah.
Appreciate you sharing your unique story, and I agree with you that uniquely sets you up to be ready for whatever's coming at you. What of the skills that you've acquired through your life do you think has prepared you the most to be ready in that position?
What of the skills from your life experience prepared you the most to be in this unique situation? Great question.
Wow, I think that I never thought about it until I was in these situations, but I really think that not getting what you want growing up and not having anything. I mean, when I came out of jail when I was younger, I didn't have a car, I didn't have a job, I didn't have an education, I didn't have a home. And now I'm married with kids, I have a house, and I have a business, and I write for publications. And I had to build that over the course of a decade from nothing. And I think that the advantage that you get is that you just have no choice but to make it work, and you don't get deterred when someone tells you no. You just figure out a way to make it work. So.
Yeah, it's really very helpful. So you're a writer. How are you? Do you miss just being a writer? Like moving into business, has that been a tough transition?
I do. I write on the side, of course, on my free time. Things that aren't political and stuff like that. But I love running my own business, and now that so many people reached out to me and we have paid subscribers and things like that, I can't walk away. I got to keep building it,
Yeah,
and
that's right.
that's what I want to do.
I mean, Cheech Marin is like, you gotta go with that. Brandon, this is amazing. Thank you so much.
you.
I'm really excited to
Thank
see
you.
what
Thank
happens
you.
next for you.